So this is my solo PV Magicka Sorcerer build that I am going to demonstrate for you now. I'll start off with the sets. The sets are Succession, Burning Spellweave, Chudan, and Endurance. The reason why I have Endurance is for 2 sets you get a massive boost to your health. Chudan gives you both health and major resolve, and because I'm running Race Against Time, Boundless Storm does not seem to be a good choice. Burning Spellweave and Succession both give major boost to your spell damage. Burning Spellweave is on the back bar and Succession is on the front bar. The traits of the armor should be Divines on the small and Infused on the large. What I have just happens to be what I have. I didn't really choose anything specifically. The traits of the weapons are Precise on the front bar, which I could easily change to Nirnhound if I wanted to make that investment, and Infused on the back bar to help proc the fire enchantment on Fiery Blockade. The weapon enchantments are shock damage on the front bar and fire damage on the back bar. It is easier to maintain the enchantments than it is to maintain poisons. The jewelry enchantments have 2 Magicka regen and 1 spell damage enchantment. All of the body pieces are Magicka damage or Magicka enchantments. And if there's anything I missed or you wanted to specifically look at, just go ahead and pause the video at any point to see what I'm talking about. The attributes of the set or of the build are all Magicka. The mundus is the Atronach for spell regeneration, Magicka regeneration. The race is Dunmer. It doesn't have to be specifically Dunmer. Any Magicka-based race would be best. The food I used is baked Parmesan pork or potent Witch's Brew. Witch's Brew gives you a bit more regen if you want a bit more survivability versus the added damage of baked Parmesan pork. The potion I use is Essence of Power to increase the critical chance. With it as the setup is, it has about 42% critical chance, which I feel like is about the bare minimum in PvE. Fully buffed with the sets activated, Burning Spellweave in Succession and having Critical Surge up, gives you a spell damage rating of 3,790. I have, with this setup, including the champion points, about 14,000 penetration, which I believe is the goal for what a PvE setup should be going for. The champion points I have set up help reduce the cost of block and roll dodge and other setups like that for a really well-rounded defense and offense. The skills I have are Haunting Curse, Elemental Drain, Hardened Ward, Lightning Flood, and Greater Storm Atronach on the front bar, and Twilight Tormentor on both bars, Critical Surge, Race Against Time, Dampen Magic, Fiery Blockade, and Fire Rage on the back bar. And here I'm going through each of the abilities so you can see what the buffed without the sets active damage and stats are for each of the abilities, and you can see my sets. And there's this there's the potion right there that I do use. Gives you also Major Intellect, which is massive. The overall point of the build is a solo build. That is meaning mobility and survivability before damage. You got to be able to maintain the mechanics before you can actually do the whole trial or dungeon. Here I'm going through the champion points. You can look at it specifically. I made a few minor mistakes, like 2 being in the bash, and I didn't feel like spending 3,000 gold just to adjust some minor things that really wouldn't make any much of a difference. But you can see here where I did try to well round out the build, make sure the cost of block, the cost of roll dodge is as reduced as possible without losing too much in the other areas. I also have a well-rounded, at least I feel well-rounded, champion point layout for the damage, seeing as it is really close to being mostly dot damage, but you do have the Twilight Tormentor and your Haunting Curse to think about for direct damage. Your heavy attacks does a large amount of the damage. Again, the reason why the build is set up the way it is as well is a lot of hit it and forget it type abilities. That way you can just lay down your AoE and your Haunting Curse or whatever and you have at least 8 seconds before you have to really worry about doing some sort of rotation again, or so you can heavy attack when needed to keep resources up. This allows you to pay more attention to what's going on around you and less attention to what damage you're dealing. Again, the damage is not high. It's not supposed to be a groundbreaking damage dealing build. It's supposed to be about dealing enough damage to actually get through the content. Here in a little bit, I'll go through a DPS check on a dummy right here. As you see, my rotation is far from perfect. It is pretty reminiscent of what a fight would be. I sometimes recast abilities when I don't need to. I sometimes forget buffs. Sometimes I overbuff. Sometimes I let my AoEs and dot damage lapse and for a few seconds. That way I reduce my damage even further. But again, you wouldn't be able to pull off a full rotation or even a decent rotation while you're soloing a hard dungeon. In fact, the last dungeon I did took 40 minutes and one boss fight. There was no way I was going to be able to sit there and just do a rotation against that kind of fight. Most of it was running around and trying to avoid mechanics. It does get to be pretty difficult to deal a lot of damage in these situations. So that's why most of this is pretty reminiscent of what a fight would look like. The damage is modest. Here in a bit you'll see what it comes out to be. It does come out to be 20,000 DPS. Again, I'm sure I could have even gotten that higher if I had done a better rotation, used my ultimates better, used my potions. That was a big one. I kept forgetting to use my potions because while I'm soloing, I'm not constantly caring about my DPS. I'm just caring about surviving and getting through it. Right, I see right here a lot of seconds going by without me using the potion. You can only imagine how much damage I would have been gaining from having that critical chance increase. Again, I just do what I can when I can. I do not care about a perfect rotation. I don't really care about making sure I'm as efficient as I can be when I'm hitting my abilities. I do care about running away from mobs. I do care about making sure that boss mechanic isn't going to kill me. Just making sure that I survive. That is primary number one thing to do. It's almost like you're a tank and that deals damage is really the concept. Modest numbers, nothing spectacular. Just watching me do the rotation here. Again, another thing I forgot to mention is I tend to forget to activate the Tormentor. Starting off a fight, I do, but a lot of times I just end up forgetting it, and it lost damage. So I'm sure this thing would pull well over 20,000. So I appreciate you very much checking out the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.